So after all the negativity surrounding Pakistan cricket, we thought we'll change things a little bit, just a little bit, and try and speak with a bit of positivity around Pakistan cricket. But to do that, we may have to go way back in time, just as when Pakistan cricket was probably not at its peak, but at least was in a much better state than it is today. But anyways, we'll try to keep it more positive today and then discuss Pakistan's single greatest test innings. This can include context, the actual innings itself. A lot of different factors go into it. So Moin and I have our own lists. I've got Moin here. Short introduction, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, look, I mean, ultimately, I think it's very tough to pinpoint sort of what constitutes. I think that's a good place to start. Like, what constitutes a great innings, right? I know a lot of our younger fans and the Babar Azam faithful will point to the 196 against Australia on the flattest wicket in the world in Karachi as a contender. But you know, I hope that's not the majority of you, because ultimately, in order to make the list of the greatest innings of all time, I mean, what are we talking? Over 70 years of Test cricket that Pakistan's played, it needs to be tough condition, tough conditions, and that doesn't need just to be the pitch. It can also be playing away from home, hostile crowds, big context, playing against India as it is for Pakistan, or against Australia in Australia. Although I'm looking down my list, and unfortunately, only one makes it in there. But and also, I think a key consideration is, did Pakistan win that match? Now, I can't say that every name that I have on my list has resulted in a victory, but it has resulted in some impact of some sort that deserves mention, right? That's how I've approached it. Zaid, is that consistent with yours?
Sort of, yeah, sort of similar. For me, I've had one exception as well. I mean, yes, probably not recency bias, not that there's any scope for that anyway. But I've tried to include innings that I remember in my lifetime. So, yes, in the context of looking at cricket and all that, there have been a few others. Zaire Abbas, Hanif Mohammed's 337 in a drawn test. And Mialad's 281. Spoiler alert, I don't have any of those just because I don't remember them. I was there.
And even Inzamam's triple hundred, I don't have, even though that's
Exactly.
more recently.
I mean, it wasn't a winning call. I mean, yeah, we could talk about a few special mentions as well along the way and stuff that we've excluded. I mean, I've got my list of 5/6, and then I have a couple of special mentions as well,
So do
which
I.
we can also. But it'd be good to get you the fans involved as well. That's the most important thing. What do you think? I'm sure we'll miss out a few innings. What do you remember? And this is purely just from memory, right? It's not like we've gone through and done tons of research, dug out all the stats and everything. But this is more on vibes, as the generation would call it today.
Exactly. It's all vibes, and I'm sure there's some really, really ardent fans, or perhaps fans older than us, who remember those iconic innings that we, heard stories about. But obviously, we want to keep it
Yeah.
as real as possible, right? So we
Yeah.
can't pretend to have watched every single innings
Yeah.
that Pakistan has ever played, right? So you're very right. There is a recency bias. I'm looking down my list, and I only have one innings that I'd say I only watched the highlights of. So there you go.
Right. So, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go one by one, and then we discuss each of them, and then we need to come to a conclusion. We need to pick one, or maybe like one, two, three. We need to rank one, two, three. How
Yeah, we
about
need
that?
three. Yeah, we need a top three,
Among
hopefully in
us. Yeah.
order. But look, let's do
Yeah.
one. Okay, so I'll start, and I'll start with actually my contender for the top. Okay,
All right. Let's
and
no, no,
that
no, wait,
is,
wait. I'll hold you there. Start with like your 5-1. Let's do that.
oh, 5-1. Oh, okay. Well, number five is, and this is, I think, I'm looking down my list. This is the only one that was in a
Mm.
losing cause. Okay, so it's Mohammad Yousef, or in that time Yusuf Yahana, 2004 Melbourne against Australia. The reason I put that in is the context. it was after the Perth Test match where Pakistan were blown away. And I know Pakistan being blown away in Australia is normal, it happens a lot. But that was extra special, dare I say, because it was Pakistan that was rolled over, I think, for 72 in the fourth innings when McGrath took 8 wickets. Pakistan was steamrolled in the first innings. I mean, it was a capitulation that even by Pakistan in Australia standards was remarkable, right? And given that I think we had Australia at 70 for 5 on the first day. So we had to bounce back from that. Inzamam got injured. Yousef had to take on the captaincy reins. Pakistan batted, and he came in around, it's around 100 for 3 or 80 for 2 or so. And it was a really solid captain's knock. And for a Pakistani batter to score 100 in Australia against the best bowling attack Australia have had, right? You had McGrath, you had Warne, you had Gillespie, you had all the big names, and I think that's unique because, like, I'm sure when we do India's greatest innings, we talk about the great innings of Adelaide that India played against Australia. But remember, that was a bowling attack that had McGill and Bickle, not Warne and McGrath. So with all this context put together, I think Pakistan also came into a winning position, and as usual, we squandered it. So with all this put together, I think I put Yousef as my sort of number 6. I think I have 6 on the list, so that's 6.
Yeah.
Which was obviously in a losing cause, which is why he's.
It was a double hundred, right?
No. If he's a double hundred in Australia, whoo! I mean,
no, that was Azhar Ali. That was Azhar Ali.
No. This was way before. This 2004.
Yeah, this
he
is
and Younis Khan stitched up a partnership, and I think it was 111. So because it was in a losing cause, it's not higher, but it was a phenomenal innings against a high quality attack against probably the best team in recent memory to have ever played in their home turf.
Yeah. No, fair. I mean, that was probably my top 10, not in my top 5. I actually have a similar innings in terms of the context of the game. 100 in Australia in a losing cause, of course. That's Shafiq's 137 in Brisbane.
Oh, what a shout! What a shout! That is incredible. Zahid Ali has taken it.
again, because of the context, very similar to what you say. Yes, the quality of bowling was still, I think it was Stark, Hazelwood, Lyon, and I think it was Jackson Bird and some.
Yeah, it was Bird. But it wasn't Cummins. It was Bird. So, and who's the spinner?
Cummins at the time. Cummins was was injured, right? So he was in and out of the time, out of the side a lot. But again, it's the context, right? I mean, Pakistan obviously, were chasing 480 something, and there was no chance, and we'd all probably, this is back in the day, and not back in the day, but we struggled to do anything in Australia. Not that we do anything now, but it was we capitulated in the first innings, and I think when Shafiq came in 150 or something for 4, and then lost Misbah and Sarfaraz pretty quickly, and I think 200 for 6 or something. And then again, he had the bat with the tail. Muhammad Amir got a 40 something. Yasir Shah got 30 something.
Don't forget Wahab Riaz. Wahab Riaz came in after Amir and had a good innings. And I think of the third last ball of the day, he nicked it. And then Yasir Shah came in, hit the first ball for 4. And then somehow we had a bit of hope and we were within 38 runs or 40 runs. It's a solid shout. And I actually think that's.
So I think just in the context, and it was the 4th innings 100 in Brisbane in Australia.
In the fortress. I mean, let's say Brisbane is the fortress of Australia,
But and getting to 450 or something, right? So that again, Pakistan lost. But in the context of that, I think I would rate this one slightly above Yousef's. And also the Yousef was in a much better team again.
Yeah, the only thing to Yousef was that Yousef was was playing Australia's best team, whereas I won't say the same of the team that Shafiq played against, but it was still a solid team at home. So look, you can go either way, but I would perhaps also tend to agree with you. I actually didn't remember that innings.
Yeah, right. I think this is, spoiler alert, probably the most recent innings I have on my list.
Yes, it Yeah, I mean, what's mine? Mine is 2015. I've written on a piece of napkin. But that's a cricket fan too.
I'm a bit too digital. I'm on my other screen. But anyways,
Look at you.
um,
Look at you showing off now. Okay, right. Do you want to go next?
all right. Uh, I've got a really random innings, and I actually got two from the same match. Spoiler alert! But I've got Moin Khan's 70 in Calcutta in 1999. Now, I was thinking about the other innings in that match, which I'll bring up,
No, no, come
and
on, no, 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 no. It's on my list.
I but Pakistan won that match. So this is the '99 series, the famous Chennai Test, all of that. But then this is technically the first of the Asian Test Championship, so it wasn't like the third of that series. Um, Similar to what the Bangladesh situation was recently, where Pakistan were 26 for 6 in that match in the first innings, and Moin Khan came in. I think he batted with, I can't remember who, but he got it 70 something, which got Pakistan up to 185, and then a decent score, but they could have capitulated for 50 or something. So in that context, which enabled another innings to happen in that match, eventually leading to Pakistan winning. So I've got that not because of the quantum of the runs or whatever. It's a 70-run innings, but it's what that innings kind of meant. Pakistan have been known to fold a lot in the past. And there's another similar context innings coming up as well in my list. But I think I'd put that 70. I mean, it's probably not number four worthy, but it just came up as I was thinking about that match.
Um. Okay. Look, that's the. I think. Look, if we're
It's a
talking
hipster pick, I know.
no, but when I think about Moin, I don't even think that's Moin Khan's best Test innings. I think Moin Khan's best Test innings was against New Zealand in Hamilton in 2003, when Pakistan was staring at a total of 550 or so. And as usual, we got starts but couldn't capitalize. And in walks Moin Khan, who stitches up 100+ run partnership with Mohammad Sami, the tail almost. He scored 100 in New Zealand,
Yeah.
which is extremely difficult to do, against a swinging ball and a very strong New Zealand bowling attack. And then he got us to I wouldn't say parity, but within 100 runs. And then our bowlers came out and got New Zealand all out for I think 80 or so, or 89, and then I think there was rain and it was drawn. But that, in my opinion, is Moin Khan's best, because he played in swinging conditions, something he's not known for, and he got 100, and that was his comeback test after Rashid Latif had been had retired. So although that is a special mention for me, that innings, Moin Khan, I don't think that makes it, but for me that's his best innings. In terms of who makes it in my list, now look, the order is questionable. You may argue that this actually belongs higher. Perhaps it is Inzamam ul Haq's 100 in Multan against Bangladesh in 2003. Now I know everyone's going to come at me and talk about the quality of opposition, right? Because Bangladesh at that time relatively new to Test cricket, and he had Khalid Mahmood bowling him gentle medium pace, half short ball, half trackers. But please remember that this is in the same game where Pakistan had absolutely capitulated. Bangladesh had played brilliantly. It was the third Test match in Multan, Inzamam's hometown. Inzamam batted brilliantly with the tail. I mean, for me, and I think that was my first innings where I actually saw Inzamam's greatness as a little child. Forget highlights in Test cricket, where when he was batting, Zayed, I knew we'd win. Even when he was batting against Shabir Ahmed, who, by the way, was number 10, not even 11, would you believe? We had someone, I think, Yasser Ali at number 11. But here was it. And I was just sure. The way he farmed strike, take singles every fourth ball, it was, and then he would just whack the first 3-4 balls to the boundary before taking that single. Brilliant. For me, it would even be in top 3, actually, but I've just mentioned it now.
Yeah, a fair shout. I just didn't have it only because it was against Bangladesh, like Bangladesh of 20 years ago.
You don't have it.
I did not have it, and I think he got dropped a couple of times in the innings. I don't know. I'm sure most of these things that we mentioned, there would have been some chances given to the batter, but I, it's just a home test match against Bangladesh in 2003 when Bangladesh were like really new
Transitioning
to Test
team, though.
cricket.
Transitioning team.
Yeah,
But
true,
yeah,
true.
fair. I mean, I don't know. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Should we go to
Shall I
number
go with the
three?
next one?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. There's a lot of India in the opposition here as I look at this, but I can't help it.
Same.
Okay, and I
Yeah,
think and it's funny we haven't played Test cricket against India for the last I can't even remember now, over 15 years. So that
yeah,
is, and that's probably why we don't have much by way of recent innings. But look, this one is a rare guard innings. Okay, everybody talks about Kamran Akmal's innings in Karachi when we were 39 for six. Okay, and yes, that's brilliant on swinging conditions. So in swinging conditions, but the one that I actually rate higher, even though it didn't win us the test, it saved us the test. But that was equal to a win given the situation we were in, and that was in Mohali in 2005 when Kamran Akmal and Razak, the same people as in Karachi a year later,
yeah.
stitched up a brilliant partnership. I mean, like I remember waking up that day expecting it. I said, you know what, even if we last till lunch, I'll be happy. And then we last till lunch, then drinks break and lunch, then tea. And when you got to tea, and then you were like, wow, we've literally survived this. And Kamran
Yeah.
Akmal was brilliant. I also rate Mohali a bit more because it was a day five pitch. I understand the Karachi conditions in day one was swinging and seaming and all, but that was only in the first hour. And then when Kamran Akmal came in a bit after that. So all said and done, I actually have both in here. I have the 2006 Karachi innings as an honorable mention, would you believe?
Yeah.
But this one is in my list. It's Mohali, Kamran Akmal against India.
Yeah. I also actually had that number two, but I put that number three as well. Because again, like you said, all the things, and I've got like a memory of that innings, although I wasn't watching it live. I think it was a Saturday or a Friday or something. I remember I was off from school, but we had some extra class at school or something. I remember this is just a memory. And this is back in the day, right? So you had to like text a specific number to get an update on the score or whatever. You couldn't watch it like you didn't have smartphones with quick info or whatever. So I remember there's this like number you had to text 121 or something, and you got a text back with the latest score. So we were checking every half an hour to see what it is, and I was like, okay, now it's game over. Pakistan will be bowled out now, and it was still five down, still five. Was it five or six? Whatever it was,
Six, six, six.
six. Yeah, we kept checking. I was like, oh, it's not changing, and then towards
But
the end, we
guys, it was
started
a
up.
weekend. It was a weekend.
It was a Saturday then. I know, because I think we had an extra. I remember I was in school. We had some extra class or something in school. It was a Saturday then.
It was a Saturday. Yeah.
It was a Saturday because I remember being in school, but the school was like empty. Um, and I remember texting like every half an hour, and then that changed to texting every and it cost money in those days to send a text message. So, and that's why I remembered. And I know it's a day five, fourth innings in India. It's still tough 20 years later. But it wasn't any better than, and the fact that it's Kamran Akmal, who's ironically potentially could have had two innings in this list. But yeah, I'd put the Mohali one slightly higher just again because of the context. And it was technically an away innings in India in the fourth innings. Karachi was still day one in Karachi. So yeah, I'd put that slightly ahead.
Do you want to go next then? Number two.
Right. I mean, I think I'll go with Shahid
I know.
Afridi's 141 in Chennai.
Oh, there we go.
Again, it comes down to the context. Everyone talks about Tendulkar's 100 in that test match, but no one mentions Afridi, who I think got a couple of wickets, and Tendulkar still got the man of the match in that test match, although India lost. And
But
he got
Dad, I'll just stop you there. That there was a time when that used to happen, but now it's unheard of to be the to win a man of the match award when you're part of the losing team. It is so
but
rare.
that's fine. Look, I don't mind. And it's only because I think, look, I'm going to get slated here, but the only reason Sachin got man of the match was because he's Sachin. At the end of the day, he got out. He didn't win India the game. He scored technically less runs than Afridi. He got a duck in the first innings, right?
Oh, didn't he get a wicket?
And he played a
Didn't he
silly
get a
shot to
wicket?
get out at the end as well.
Didn't
Yeah,
he
he
get
got
a
a duck in the
wicket
second
though?
in the first. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, potentially. But at the end of the day, he still.
Look, I think that Tendulkar innings is probably one of the best innings of Tendulkar I've seen. So, given again the context of the game, and also he was up against probably the best bowling attack Pakistan have ever had. I mean, it was an incredible bowling attack, and all in form as well. So, I agree with you. I think there were other contenders. I completely agree, and I think there was a bit of like, Pakistan won, but in the spirit of friendship, let's give India maybe Tendulkar man of the match, perhaps. But it was a phenomenal innings. So
Yeah.
I will say that, like that. I mean, you never even thought India would get close, and then the fact I know Tendulkar didn't win it in the end. I mean, I think he got out when they needed 20 runs, or a bit more, a
Yeah,
bit
20 or
less.
something. Yeah. And when he got out,
The
he was
viewers blame
actually
him.
ahead
I mean,
with
it was a
wickets.
rash shot. I remember.
Yeah. No, but my point is, look, yes, okay, fine. Ronaldo got India close. He still lost the game. I just checked, he took 3 wickets in that match. Afridi also took 3 wickets in that match. And he scored 141. It's only because Afridi scored at the top of the order and, in the third
Fair
innings, you don't
enough. Fair
remember it.
enough. Yeah, yeah.
But I do think it's slightly unfair to Afridi that innings, no one mentions it. And everybody still remembers that Sachin's innings.
But
And part of it is because he's Sachin. That's
but
it. Look,
didn't Afridi get out for a duck in the other innings?
he got like a 10, 11 or something.
Yeah,
Sachin got the first thing.
yeah, you're right. Okay, well, look, I hear you. Um, I also had another innings, although it's not in my five. It's an honorable mention. I think I'm gonna hear it's your top one. Uh, so I let you do the honors of the great left-handed opening batter. But I will let you say. So I won't
Go
take
for
that.
it.
Because it's not
Go
even
for
on
it.
my list. It was an honorable mention. But my number two is also against India.
Oh,
But
wow.
it is 2005 Bangalore. Younis Khan's Herculean 267. Now,
Yeah.
again, look with I think that that Bangalore test win or Bengaluru test win ranks amongst Pakistan's greatest test wins. Okay, it has to be in the top three because and it's not just Younis Khan, it's Inzamam's brilliant captaincy, marshalling a rather depleted bowling attack. We were missing Shoaib Akhtar, and
Afridi
getting 10
bowling
wickets.
Ganguly.
That Afridi, oh my god, and then the shock on Ganguly's face. But more importantly than that, it was he got all 10 wickets on the day on the last day. He had a declaration on day 4 to get 10, 12 overs at him at the opposition, but you had Sami and Razak bowling, so you didn't have much hope. And they had a great first session, and then Razak got a direct hit that ran Sehwag out, and then the floodgates opened. And everyone talks about 10 wickets on the last day, but actually it's 9 wickets in the last 2 sessions. But it's not about that. It's about Younis Khan's 267. I even had an honorable mention of Inzamam's 184 in that same test match, which was Inzamam's 100th test match.
Yeah.
And remember, they both came in. Well, Younis Khan came in at 3, but Inzamam came in at 4 when Pakistan didn't even have 10 runs on the board, right? It was a must-win game for us. We lost the second test. First was drawn. We had to win. We won the toss, and Inzamam in his 100 test did brilliantly. But Younis Khan's it was phenomenal because you've got to remember Younis Khan was still new to cementing his place at that number 3 spot. He got 100 in Kolkata, but he really needed a big score here or a score that would have a direct influence on the game. Younis,
Yeah.
probably one of our many people would argue he's our best test batter, although he doesn't get that recognition as much as I would like him to. But I put that there. I mean, the other Younis Khan innings that I had here, I had 2 other honorable mentions, which was the Oval double 100, and especially given how out of form he was, and the other one was a match-winning innings against Sri Lanka and Palekele in 2015, and that's a match-winning innings in the 4th innings. Younis Khan's 4th innings average is brilliant.
That's when Pakistan chased 360 something, was it? That's
360,
the record, right?
you're right, and they had many wickets to spare. I think it still remains Pakistan's highest successful test chase. So, but the fact
With
that
none other than Shan Masood, I think, wasn't it?
none other than our incumbent Test captain. But just remembering him in his glory days, but which seemed a long
Yeah.
time ago. The only
Yeah.
reason why I put this ahead is one,
No,
because it's
it's quantum. Yeah.
267. It's in a must-win game against India. Sri Lanka, you had a flat wicket on day 5, or flattish wicket, against a Sri Lankan bowling attack which was past its prime. So, all said and done, I go with Younis Khan's 267.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably an oversight on my side. I would, yeah, in hindsight, I'd probably put that above some of the ones that I've already mentioned, just purely because of the quantum of the innings. Um, and I also thought my list was getting too India centric, but yeah, phenomenal innings. I remember it was a similar template to the previous match, where I think it was Yousef and Younis were a long partnership and
Correct,
Pakistan collapsed
absolutely
and
that.
ended up losing,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Um, and yeah, I think yeah, definitely would probably have that in there. 267, phenomenal. So we
We're
move on
missing
to number
Younis Khan's
ones.
triple hundred against Karachi on the flattest wicket of all
Karachi
time, but
against
I think that
yeah. I
goes
mean,
to show what I think about Pakistan
I don't think any of the
pitches.
triple hundreds make this list, right?
Yeah. Which is why everyone, all the critics of Tendulkar say, oh, he didn't score triple hundred. Like, who cares? Like, the guy,
Yeah.
like, sometimes it's
Yeah, I
luck,
think
right?
the match where Inzamam scored a triple hundred was, I think New Zealand didn't get 300 combined in 2 innings in that match. I think they just came to like tick a box and then leave. That was
Exactly. And look, honestly, like, if you go by that, Wasim Akram has a higher test score than Tendulkar at 252 not out, which, by the way, I
257.
considered as a special mention on my list. You can't see, but I have
Same.
it here. Sheikh
Again,
Pura
Zimbabwe,
250
but yeah, Sheikhupura
on the
257 again.
flattest wicket.
Yeah.
But now
Again, I
look,
think it's Saklan, but yeah.
and many people will say, "Oh yeah, Tendulkar's overrated. Look, Wasim Akram's high test score." But for God's sake, like, a lot of this is due to luck, okay, and fortune.
Yeah.
Depends on the wicket you play, right? You play on. Depends on the quality of those
Yeah.
around you, and it just depends on match situation, all those other things, right? Tendulkar's highest test score came, which in my opinion is probably on par with Chennai, Sydney, against a strong Australian bowling attack, not as strong as it has been, but still strong, where he
Yeah.
took his offside drives out of
Yeah.
the game because he kept getting nicked out in the previous test match. I mean, imagine the self control. So that's why these highest test scores are sometimes good fortune more than, I mean, yes, you need to play really well, but sometimes you
Yeah.
need all the cards to fall in the right place in terms of pitch, in terms of match situation, in terms of partners at the other end, in
Yeah.
terms of the quality of opposition. So that's why I don't rate that.
And
But in any
streets
case,
won't forget for the Indian fans, streets won't forget Karun Nair as a triple hundred in Test cricket, and no one knows
there
where
you
he is
go.
now.
There you go. I sometimes look at that list and I'm like, like, yes, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
leave it there. Um, but I let you go with your number one, Zahid, because
Look,
I've
I think
given the
I've hinted
spoiler
on it.
anyways.
I mean, there's no reward for guessing this. Personal favorite as well, just because it was my favorite batter of all time. Saeed Anwar is 188 in Kolkata in the same match that I mentioned by Moin Khan. Um, Again, it was a third innings. Carried his bat. Pakistan won the Test match, the golden era of Pakistan cricket. I think he got a tuck in the first innings, ironically,
He
in that
did.
26 for 6 collapse. But then 188 to, and then again, you mentioned higher score. I think say that's say that was highest test
It is.
score. Ironically, his one day score is high. He never got a double hundred. So yeah, I'd have that 188. Again, the conditions, the context. Yeah,
The
it's got to
most
be for me.
criminally underrated batter of all time, in my opinion. I remember Cricinfo did a during when COVID had just started. They did, oh, which would you pick out of these openers? And they had Marwan Atapattu there, but not Said Anwar. And Usman Semirin wrote an entire article because of it. It propelled him to write out.
Yeah,
He was so frustrated. And I share that because I, like you, Said Anwar was my favorite batter growing up until then Inzamam took over because Inzamam had a longer career post
yeah,
2003. Said Anwar lost his way a little bit when other things preoccupied him. Um, but he was brilliant. I mean, I as a lefty myself, which I think is the same with you as well. There was something
yeah.
special, so I'm not doubting it's in my special mentions, but it didn't make it to the top. The top for me is Inzamam ul Haq's vigil in 1994 against Australia in Karachi. The last test, it was 0-0. Inzamam batted with the tail, Mushtaq Ahmed in particular, stitched up, I think, the highest 10th wicket partnership. I don't think it's yet broken. It may be, I don't know. To get Pakistan over the line and get what at that point was Pakistan's highest successful test run chase in test matches. It was 315, and Inzamam got it. I know it's at home in Karachi, but just think you're against one of the greatest, Australian, well, the greatest Australian bowler in Shane Warne at his prime. You had a phenomenal bowling attack, and just a phenomenal team, and a team that Pakistan just don't do well against. Okay, and a team that knew how to win. But Inzamam was the only man there between Australia and victory. And Inzamam did what Inzamam always does really well, which is he wins matches, right? I don't care that someone tells me that, oh, he averages 49.8 because he got out to Paul Harris, you remember in the last.
Yeah.
I don't care, okay? Show me the stats which talk about match winning. So it's called match impact. And Inzamam is, I think, top 2 or top 3 after Bradman. Because that it was some statistic which is when Inzamam or when the batter scores 50 plus or whatever, does his team win? And Inzamam's record is ridiculously strong here, right? In both one day and test cricket. Now, you might argue that that's because Pakistan relied a lot on one person, whereas others had other
Yeah.
people around him. But in spite of that, match impact means you carry a team, regardless, right? You could so easily also capitulate like your other teammates. But Inzamam did it. He took Pakistan home. I only watched the highlights. I was only 2 years old when I watched. I was a bit young to watch it and appreciate it live. And I love how Inzamam actually got the winning runs, if you remember. He he danced down the track. Shane Warne missed the ball, and Ian Healy, the safest of keepers, the only mistake he's probably ever made, he just didn't pick up the ball cleanly to get the stumping, and it went for 4 byes. So
Yeah.
which is a bit ironic, but that was probably the only chance Inzamam gave. I think that was terrific, farming the strike. There's something about batting with the tail and winning the game and winning the series. And I think
Yeah.
the last time Pakistan won a series against Australia until we made the UAE our fortress.
Yeah. Look, and for me, I had that as an honorable mention. The only reason I didn't put it in there, well, two reasons I didn't put it in there. One was because of the Ian Healy stumping error. Again, I just, when you make such a blatant error, it was just one error of judgment from the keeper, which was putting it into just another Inzamam 50 versus the best innings of all time, as he put it. But at the end of the day, it was 58 runs, not a big 100, or I know it's the quality of the runs that count as well. But ironically, Saeed Anwar was actually, he got a 75 or something, 80 in that same innings. So, you know,
It's a
again, yes,
fair shout.
context
It's a
and
fair
stuff.
challenge. It's
It's
a
just the
fair
fact that it was
challenge.
like 50 something that's why I didn't have it in my top five. You need to have some. I Moin Khan 70, but that was a hipster pick. But it's just the fact that it's 58, not 158 or 110, something. That just played on my mind. And whenever I think about that match, I think about Ian Healy stumping. And if you ask any, avid fan from the 90s, they would mention Ian, because a lot of people remember it as Ian Healy test match, not the Inzamam test match, because of what he did.
That is true. Actually, it's a bit of a shame, but yeah, it is true. Um, look, I
But
can
yeah, let's move.
accept that.
Yeah, but let's move to our top five, right?
Top three. I mean,
Um, oh
top
yeah,
five.
top three, top three.
We're not top five. But you mean combined top three, right?
Yeah, combined. Yeah.
All right.
Unless you want to have any special mentions you want to get into before.
No, I mentioned my special mentions as we go on. I mean, I'd love to know what our viewers think because obviously we missed some. We might have
Yeah,
miscategorized a few. But look, I think hearing both sides, um, I think it's a toss up between your. I mean, you could argue. I wouldn't say Said Anwar's our best test innings of all time. Like, if you just think objectively, I think of a best test match innings as someone where you either are responsible for winning the game as opposed to being or saving the game as opposed to being responsible for setting up the game. I do think there's a difference. The extra pressure when it comes to, oh, now you have to just take Pakistan home, just weighs it a bit for me away from Said Anwar. You might even say the same about Younis Khan's 260 as well. I don't know. Um, Look, why don't you start with your thought on your combined number three?
Look, my combined, now that you mentioned it and I'm thinking everything into context, um, is tough.
It's really tough, but
It's tough.
it's
I mean,
uh,
look, I'd have Anwar's 188 and Yunus's 267 in there. It's just the third one that I'm hesitant about. I don't want to put a Afreedi's 141 because, there'll be three innings against Afreedi's 141.
yeah.
The reason why I really rate this Anwar's innings, again, just looking at going from memory, I think Pakistan scored 315 and he got a 188. That's a significant proportion of the runs. You look at everybody else, I think only a couple of other batters got into double figures. I think Yousef got a 50 and then nobody else did anything. So again, it's the context, right, of it. Um,
Um,
wh- I can't
you
think
know,
of I don't know. I maybe Kamran Akmal's Mohali. I'd put it at three. Yeah,
I'll
I think
give
that
you
I'll do that.
mine.
I'd put Akmal and Mohali. Younis is 267 and Anwar is 188. That's my 3-2-1.
Can you say that again, please?
Akmal's Mohali 100.
Yeah.
Then Younis Khan's 267, which I didn't have, but in hindsight, I think I should have had. And say that was 188.
Um, I look. I'm gonna tell you what I think. Um, I'm. I don't think Said Anwar belongs in this top three. As but the only look, I was gonna go with Younis Khan. Actually, in retrospect, I think your point on Inzamam's innings is right in that it doesn't get him the top spot, and I accept the century against Bangladesh is as brilliant as it is tainted a bit by the quality of the opposition at that time. Okay, so I accept that. Right, I do still think that it's Younis Khan's 267. I think I'd put that as number one. I actually think your Asad Shafiq innings of 137 is hugely underrated. I'm going to
It
put
is.
that at number four. Okay, I think it
But
just misses out. Do you agree with that?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's underrated because Pakistan lost, right? So,
Exactly. If Pakistan won that game, you and I will both be sitting here. Even if Asad Shafiq just got 20
oh, that
more
would have
runs,
been the greatest innings of
that would have
all,
been the greatest
well, not
innings
of all
period.
time.
Like,
Pakistan's
like
greatest innings of all time.
yeah, I mean, it could, yeah, not just us. You're right. Probably the best on Australian shows. I mean, I don't know. They're like,
Yeah,
so that's why winning and losing, there's such a fine margin, but it takes nothing away from the innings itself, right? I mean,
yeah.
so I put us. I almost tempted to put it at the top three, but I'll put it at four. So mine are four Asad Shafiq's 138, three Kamran Akmal's Mohali Vigil, two. I'm going to just drop my number one to number two, but I think we'll disagree and maybe I can swap. But at the moment, it's Inzamam's 94 and so 1994 innings, but we can discuss that. And number one is Younis Khan's 267. So I think I am just in disagreement with you on Younis Khan's position as 102 and
Yeah,
whether it's Said Anwar or Inzamam at the other spot. I think that's where, or even Asad
yeah,
Shafiq. I'd even throw Asad Shafiq's name in there. So between these three,
yeah.
yes, I will also give an honorable mention to all our fans before they unsubscribe. That Babar Azam's 196 did make it onto my special mentions. It did. It did. It was a great innings. I do, but it isn't in our top five.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I think Younis Khan 267. I wouldn't mind putting that at one. Again, it's 267. and the logic that I gave for kicking out the 58 not out from my list is kind of the opposite of that, right? So yeah, I think for me, I'm comfortable with in Younis Khan at 1. Look, I don't know. Maybe we drop Akmal's innings and then put in our two original number ones as I don't know, Inzamam 58 and Anwar's 188 as 1, 2, 3.
It's tough. I
But
mean, you could even
I don't know.
argue.
Look, at the end of the day, look, so in your opinion, you're rating Akmal's 100 more than Anwar's 188, right? Which I'm not too sure about.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. It's just I think of the situation. Look, no doubt. If anyone thinks I'm here arguing that Akmal's a better batter than Saeed Anwar, well, please feel free to unsubscribe now because as you says rubbish. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. Saeed Anwar was a far better batter. But I think when you just think of the innings, like, okay, if I were to ask you this, Zahid, swap them around. Kamran Akmal scored the 188 and Saeed Anwar scored the match saving 100. Something tells me you will go with Saeed Anwar's Mohali.
no, because Pakistan won
No?
the 188 match, right? So
No, I
that
know, I
that's
know.
that's and the part of bias obviously is because Akmal Singh was in the fourth inning, so it's a bit more memorable because he was there at the end or whatever. Like on the final, I'll say Anwar's innings was in the third innings, so it's not the same. But I think Younis's 267 was the first innings. Um, so so yeah, look, I that's my only thing. I think obviously you tend to glorify the fourth innings more, like in
But
Zamam
rightly so,
58.
no?
You know,
Rightly
yeah.
so in day five, saving or winning a match. I think that's fair. I think it's the caliber of the batter that just brings it down a little. And I think if we're like if it were like an Inzamam or a or a Sedan, we could perhaps agree. And I'm the same as you, by the way. I'm also feeling very hesitant putting Akmal in a top 2 or 3. But I just think it's if you just close your eyes and forget about who played it, and think about in what situation they played it in, and how in that game saving was as good as winning. Given where we were, we lost every single session in that game until the last day. So there's a lot riding on me thinking Akmal is better. But let's say that we let's have a tie and let our fans decide that. How about that? Okay. Okay. So Younis Khan's 267. We agreed on. Number two is let's make it a tie then. It's Saeed Anwar's 188 and Mohali, the innings, Kamran
Yeah.
Akmal innings. Yeah, let's agree on that. And number three, I'm going to leave it to you here. Inzamam's 58, Inzamam's 100, or Asad Shafiq's 137. Again, remember, if it were Inzamam scoring the 137, I think we would both have it in the top 3. I do think
No,
there's a caliber
I
point.
yeah, Pakistan lost that match, so that
True,
made
true.
that.
Yes, true, true.
Yes. So that makes a big difference in my book.
I totally agree. That's
Yeah,
why I had Inzamam's 58 up there in that same logic because he won the game, right?
yeah. But uh,
It
but
is
yeah, I
what
think
it is. um, I have to say it's quite sad if Pakistan's top 3 innings is only a 58.
yeah, exactly. So I
So
think
I don't know. I mean,
that's.
uh,
I mean, we know
uh,
that thing in living memory. Right? We don't have a Pakistan. They don't have a Ben Stokes 135 or a Kusal Perera 153 or whatever. They don't have innings in a fourth innings where someone's gone in and scored a big 100 to win a game. Maybe that again, Younis Khan, Palak Ali is the only one, right? But that was a comfortable win. Pakistan got like 7, 8 wickets in that match. Um,
Abdullah Shafiq's double 100 that also got us home. Remember, Dying Light 201. But
yeah,
again, but against a much weaker Sri Lankan bowling attack. Let's be
yeah.
honest. Okay, so look, I don't know what the answer is. I think we're in a bit of a data on, but let's go. Look, what's the
We'll leave it
time?
to the fans. We'll leave it to the fans. Look, I think
Okay, let's leave it to the
we,
fans. So there we go. Number one, Younis Khan 267. That's what we've agreed on. That's what the purpose of this episode was about. Number two is a tie, and we'd love for you to break that tie between Saeed Anwar's 188 and Kamran Akmal's Mohali epic, right? Not that I'm biased in what I've just said, but anyways. And the third one is again a question mark between Inzamam's 58, not out in a winning cause. I shouldn't be allowed to do this because I'm so biased. Versus Zaid, what was yours?
So the two Inzamam innings and then Shafiq's 137, right? Those are the ones. I mean, I would put a few of these Chennai innings in there as well, but we can ignore that.
Yeah, let's. Okay, so then we're saying it's between the two Inzamam innings, 100 against Bangladesh, which was 100, um, the 58 against Australia, and then the third is, of course, Asad Shafiq's epic against Australia. Okay, so there we go, albeit in losing cause. There you have it. Zai, thank you very much. This just shows how unbelievably difficult it is to be a Pakistan fan, right? I'm sure, and I'm sure we do this in the future, there'll be more consensus across some of the other teams. But with Pakistan, the difficulty is not because we have so much quality to choose from and so many different players to get it from. Actually, over here you'll notice most of our suggestions, barring Asad Shafiq's one innings or Akmal's one innings, are from our usual, right? The Inzamam, Yousef, Younis, Said Anwar, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the list is quite small there. But yet, despite that, it was so difficult because that's why we love cricket. Where if there was a black and white answer, I don't think we'd have even half the love for cricket as we do. So many factors, so many subjective points of priority, and we'd love to know what you have to say about it. So please comment. Let us know what you thought of our number two, number three, and also our number one, and whether we missed any great innings. I'm sure we did. Thanks, Zahid.
Thanks.